I found out about this through Matthew Starr, who's the genius behind Best Man's Ghostwriter. He is a real ghostwriter for Best Men, and when I talked to him and heard about sort of his experience, I immediately was intrigued by what that job was and what he had learned. So as we got to kind of like lock arms on this thing and find a really fun story, I think I only became more creatively excited. I'm really glad that Matthew chose me to play Nate, a character that was like just a blast to play, but also just on the producing side, getting to kind of give audiences a story that I felt like is just really unique and fun. And then also getting to bring my friends into it and getting to play around with my friends, which I think is just sort of the best part about this job when you get to employ your friends and have a good time doing it. Nate is a guy who obviously is hired by not only hired by the best man in a wedding, but Nate is hired potentially by the bride's family or the groom's family or anyone else that thinks that this best man selection may be an ill-advised one. And I think what's really fun about Nate is Nate operates like he knows everything. And at the same time, you really start to realize over the course of the story that he has a really complicated relationship with male friendship. And he has lost one of his best friends, and he's trying to understand what male friendship is and how to express it. And so I think the fun part about it is it's the always those who can't teach idea is this is a guy who can't express himself, but he's trying to teach other men how to express themselves. So right there, you get the fun sense of irony and comedy that makes something like this really great. You'll see all the people I actually love in real world like really deliver in this thing. So I think that was really fun for me, is to be genuinely proud of how talented your friends are. Jack McBrayer is a really great friend of mine who's obviously the voice of some of the most like iconic characters, in voiceover history. He's a Daniel Day-Lewis of voice acting. So the fact that we got his talents on this is extreme. And he's a very nice guy. I think the best part for me about diving in as a producer on this project was just kind of understanding how it's a medium that really offers a lot in terms of entertainment. It's like you always have to think about the audience when you're putting something out there. And I think the level of intensity of engagement of a listening audience, it's just different than watching something. It's not as passive. There's like a more active role that the audience plays in. And I think it kind of dictates performance, and it kind of allows you to kind of play in a little bit of a different sandbox. And as someone who, just like we all consume stories in different ways, in different formats and in different size chunks and all these different things. I think for me, producing this and really understanding how an audience was going to consume this, it just allowed me to kind of flex a different creative muscle, and it was just really fun. Voice acting versus on camera acting. Hair and makeup is shorter. That's definitely the case. The sweatpants are something that I recommend when acting. It's just a better way to go to work. I prefer to act in sweatpants all the time, but they don't allow you to do that very often. I think the fun part about this job is that when you're a kid, listening to anything or watching anything, like the imagination is such a big part of it. And for me, being able to like go to work and kind of try to like create this for an audience, like with your friends, it really felt like we were in like elementary school on the playground, just like, creating stuff out of nowhere. I mean, that's the best part about this is even though this is a very professional production and like, there's a great story, it's amazing writing. And the fun part is we have the best performers, but that truly know how to play and truly know how to drop an audience into these, set pieces and scenarios. And so the thing I think that I'm the most proud of with the Best Man's Ghostwriter is just like a wedding. Weddings are a giant infusion of comedy and drama and emotion and all these, people from different phases of life all crammed into this one defining moment. I feel like we have all those different flavors in Best Man's Ghostwriter, and it makes it a real journey. This is not this journey doesn't exist like that. There's just all sorts of levels to it, and it really makes it's a feast. It's an audible feast. The job of a best man is very high stakes. A best man can either propel a wedding to a great moment and a great dance floor and make people feel grounded in the love story that they're participating in, or they can completely derail a wedding. And we've all been a part of both. And I think the thing that drew me to The Best Man's Ghostwriter is this character that I get to play, Nate, which is a guy whose sole purpose is to make sure that best men win for the groom and the bride and everyone around the wedding on the biggest moment of their lives. The fun part about The Best Man's Ghostwriter is really the exploration of what another person means to you. And the best part about this story, in my opinion, is that trying to define what someone means to you and also express that in front of a group of people is what makes male friendships really complicated, you know? And I think men are not always equipped or designed to express ourselves. And I think that's what makes this a really fun thing, is like, it's a specific moment that is designed for men to open up in a very public theater, and we don't always show up appropriately. Audible's obviously the best in the game, and they've infused the best of the best onto this project to make sure that anyone listening really feels like they're transported to a place. And I think that's been really fun for me, is just like any movie, you're always trying to put the best department heads on something to really make that magic trick come alive. And I think for this one, when you listen to it, it really does come alive. And it's because we have the best in sound at the forefront guiding us there. What's so fun about weddings is I think especially in the Audible sort of experiences, I think the fun part is that I'm realizing that even just the clink of a glass or hearing like the reverb of a microphone and like hearing sort of what's been so impressive is sort of the environment that they've been able to create in the show and how it immediately puts you into a place. That's what's been really cool about this format, at least for me, is that I don't know if it's necessarily obvious for the story, but because we've all been to weddings, you kind of like are immediately transported in that room. I think this could work on a film or television medium, but I think what's been really fun to experience on this one and listen, obviously recording it, but also listening to it as a fan, it really is just more fun to watch how the imagination kind of fills in the gaps. It's definitely something I want to do again. Storytelling is different in every space, and I think this one really works, and it's engaged my brain in a different way. In terms of the do's and don'ts of being a best man, and if you really want to know all the details, you should listen to The Best Man's Ghostwriter. Don't talk about the bride and her history. Don't talk about the groom and his history. Don't go for comedy. Go for the heart. It won't betray you. Don't overly serve yourself at the open bar beforehand. Happy medium. A drink, maybe two. After that, you're gonna say something you regret. The cool part about The Best Man's Ghostwriter is this is coming out during wedding season. So while you're in the spirit, hear it. Just came up with that out of nowhere.